Hi everyone, welcome back to another D&D story. I know I haven't done one of these in a while, but I actually have a new story that is fairly recent. This story comes from a one shot I recently played with some of the guys from my current regular D&D session or campaign. The DM of the normal campaign wasn't able to make it, so one of the guys decided to run a one shot, and this is where the story comes from. The party consisted of Andrew, the human artificer, Tibbs, the dragonborn paladin, Borisov, the dwarven cleric, and myself, Andros, the lizardfolk barbarian. The party was hired to rescue a royal son from the assailants that had kidnapped him. The party moved out of the town where they were hired from by the royal. They moved through kind of a foresty, wooded area, following tracks, and eventually finding a clearing where it looked like a skirmish had occurred. It went further along where the tracks led, and they ran across an orc scout. Adros quickly dealt with him, accidentally chopping his head off, meaning to interrogate him, but that's beyond the point. They followed the tracks back further into a cave system, and it ended up being the assailants' base of operations. The base was filled with multiple orcs and ogres. And as they went through, the party went through eliminating enemies from room to room. They eventually made it into the final boss room, as if you will, where they found an orc priestess appearing to sacrifice villagers from many different races. There was a half orc, elf, human, some halflings, I believe, and they were pushing them off this bridge into a dark pit that, as you came into the room, you could actually see it was almost completely blacked down, and you just hear them get pushed off and just fall and scream and then splat. But as when they walked in, the party eventually killed off all the remaining enemies. But however, during the fight, the dwarven cleric Borisov got near to the edge of the pit, and without telling anyone, jumped straight in to the pit and took on whatever was down below, all on his lonesome. As the last enemy was defeated, my character Adros leapt into the dark pit after Borisov. When he leapt into it, he realized he jumped into the back of a young black dragon, and during the fight, Borisov, when all the party was having their fight, Borisov was on the dragon's back as well, apparently slashing away, but he got knocked off. And as he was knocked off, he got hit with the dragon's breath attack, rendering him unconscious. And at this stage, he had already filled one death save. And my character jumped on the back of the dragon, caused a whole lot of problem, causing a disadvantage against his attacks, causing advantage against my teammates' attacks. But during the fight, but eventually the remainder of the party joined us, Tibbs and Andrewin. They blasted it from range with multiple attacks, finally to slay the beast. But unfortunately, during the final round, as Tibbs jumped into the pit alongside Adros, he jumped between the dragon and Borisov, and as that moment that he landed, the dragon regained its breath weapon attack and hit Tibbs with a full-on breath weapon. Tibbs was fine, but unfortunately at that point, Borisov had failed one death save, so again he pretty much dissolved into a puddle of acid and blood and ichor and all the disgusting things you can imagine. The royal son was saved. He was one of the victims pushed into the pit with the dragon, and he was pretty much dead, barely breathing, barely alive. And as you do, or as Adros does, he offered him a quick meal just to help revive him and his vitalities, and he provided him a melon that would drug induce him. This was a melon that he had found outside the caves that seemed to be ripped straight out of Critical Role, with the blood melons that Not had and Caleb had, where they went into a drug-induced state. But yeah, and they saved the royal son, and unfortunately Borisov was slain. He'll forever be remembered because he was scooped up and put into a few test tubes and provided to a few of the survivors and told to remember him forever, because he was the one who saved them. And that is how the party saved the day, by cliff diving into the belly of the beast. But unfortunately the whole party didn't survive, so it's a bit rough. But yeah, thanks everyone for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.